Hi there. I have a lot to say, and I don't even know where to start, so I'm just gonna start whatever comes to me, I suppose. This is a continuation of yesterday's video. I had that dream warning me that I would be upset, and the reason was because the way things have been shown to me is kind of showing, I think God has spiritual seeds throughout the world, but that there's also evil seeds throughout the world. Sorry. For example, I said the spiritual and physical. With the physical Egypt, I think there's a spiritual Egypt as well. And as I mentioned before, I don't think the people who are studying the Bible can fully understand their Bible unless they connect with the next culture. And I kind of understand that a little bit better now. And so Native people will know what I'm talking about here. This is a medicine wheel. And wait, how do I show this? Is it backwards? Anyways, this represents the east, spring. Red represents summer, black fall, and west, and white is north and winter. And as I explained in the oh shoot, I have so many pictures. Oh, here it is. In the Seven Fires prophecy. It kind of appears like cultures are supposed to connect with each other to understand the Bible, and our prophecy says that light would come from the east. So they're the ones who started out with God's knowledge, with the Old Testament, and there's parts in there that you're not gonna understand, and I understand a bit of that too. And I'm gonna have to explain that in a different video because I need to stay focused. But I know it's white people mainly who have been spreading the knowledge, and that might have something to do with the first will be last and the last will be first, because the layered meanings. It's almost like they were the first to spread Jesus's word across the world, but they may not fully understand it until the end, because I believe, and I'm making myself look like a fool and risking being hated for this, but this is the way things are looking to me. So all I'm asking is to consider the possibility. The light would come from the east. That's what it's in our native prophecy. Okay? And Jesus is the light. And we are the red people, the spiritual people. Okay? So I believe we're the next part in order to help the Christians and the Jewish people to understand the book. And I was like, I don't know who the next culture would be. But then I thought about our medicine wheel. And would that be the black people? Do they hold the knowledge for the soul? You have to look at my other video with the 3 parts needed for the key. And I do see these connections, and they're too interesting to ignore. And then when all 3 of these come together, you know, I know a lot of white people have already been trying to spread the knowledge, but I see a lot of churches that I don't think they're understanding that book as deeply as they're meant to, because they don't understand the spirit like Native people do. Now, I know there's a lot of good people in church, and a lot of them have found Jesus. And I think a part of that is because, you know, he also teaches that you may not understand my ways, but he's trying to teach you to walk forward blindly in faith and trust in me. And I think that's where, like a lot of people who have found Jesus, they have been doing that. They've been walking in faith, recognizing that his message was good. It was, he's trying to bring peace to the world and love and forgiveness. But I think some of the churches, the way they're teaching things, may be wrong. So I want you guys to consider this and think about it, and maybe look at some of our prophecies. If anything's stamped with the number 7, like what I've learned from the Bible, that's the stamp of God. And our 7 rainbow, we also have the 7 grandfather teachings. You need to consider this possibility. So the part that yesterday and today I've been emotional about is I'm understanding the law a lot better, and I'm also understanding that there's good and evil in the world, and how things have been misconstrued and things have been misguided. And I think I'm understanding the law of God better. So like I said, once you know that there's a physical and a spiritual, a physical Babylon, a spiritual Babylon, a physical Egypt, a spiritual Egypt. I had my daughter draw this. And I did talk about this before in one of my other videos, and I didn't fully understand it at that time, but I do understand it better now. Like I said, this represents people who say they are God. That's what this represents. They say, I am God and I don't need God. And they've been led astray. And I think I know who's led them astray as well. But the thing is, they have secret knowledge. And you can do some research yourself and see this. But yes, you can tap into these things. But God says that's abusing what he has set up. And I think some people have been led astray. How do I explain this? They've been led astray to believe that they are gods themselves as humans. But the reality is we are children of God. And that's what God tries to teach in the Bible. And the reason he tells you to stay away from certain things like sorcery and witchcraft and things like that is because he knew. I'm going to have to do another video on that because that's a big topic. But to start, do you recognize this symbol? Okay, this is the spiritual Egypt, and it's not one people. They're all across the world. And for example, the Freemasons, and you may know somebody who's in the Freemason group, and you may think, well, I'm just speaking conspiracy. But the thing is, God talks about these people who are using not the knowledge of the universe in secret, and he says that the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing, with like vice versa. And I think he's talking about these groups because it's set up that at the bottom they do very good. They do good for the community. They do good for others. And these are good people, the ones that are at the bottom. But the ones that are at the top, I don't think they're doing good. And I don't know exactly what they're doing, but there's some sort of balance thing going on. And that's why we need Jesus. This is the body, the spirit, the soul. This goes deep. And most of us haven't looked at the Bible because we thought that it was evil. And I think that some evil has infiltrated the churches. And Jesus talks about that. If you go to the book of Revelation at the beginning, he writes a letter to each of the 7 churches. And one of them in particular he calls a corrupt church. And he says the people at the bottom are good people, and I'm not going to hold anything against them. But the people at the top, they're not good. And so as I move forward, when you start to see these things, Like Jesus tries to teach love and forgiveness. So if you start to feel upset, like I've been feeling sadness, and kind of feels like a hole. I've been trying to listen to music to calm myself down, but it's not really working, so that's why I'm doing this video, because I think I'll feel better after I do the video. You know, there's a lot of people in churches, like the people, they're good people, and I think some of the churches might have been led astray and they don't know it. And I believe it's because we're supposed to come together in order to understand that Bible. Like it really does seem to be locked. And one of the things the Jewish people say about not believing the New Testament is there's mistakes in there and things like that. But actually, some of those mistakes is what cracked codes for me. They're put there on purpose. And, like pay attention to the grammar. I think it was set up that way on purpose so people would come together. Okay. So you might want to go back to my other video talking about the law. Okay, the law of Moses. It's about the Ten Commandments, but it's actually the other laws he gave. It was more than that. It was trying to protect them beyond what they could understand. And that's really complicated stuff I'm talking about now, but if you're a native person, you might recognize some of the things I say. And like I said, I think different cultures hold keys to understanding. This is the yin and yang, this is a recognizable symbol. And this kind of represents the law in the universe that we live in. And their belief is there's a little bit of good and darkness and bad and light. And that kind of shows like who we are here on this planet. We have the two minds. And if you go to like the creation story, it kind of explains that a lot of it's symbolic, not literal. Like don't eat from that tree. You'll know good and evil, and you pretty much won't be able to handle it. The way that I'm kind of reading it, it sounds like we're like rebellious teenagers that just don't want to listen and keep, like we can do things ourselves. We don't need you. That's my opinion. You can take it or leave it. But the way things were explained to me in the Bible, like this is what I gathered. Like this is kind of like the law here in the world. There's a cause and effect. How do I explain this? Magnets, north, south. I have notes somewhere. I don't know where they are. Okay, but I'll just move on because I got more to say. But this is the way God says it should be. Oh, sorry. So this white one, imagine it represents the sun in the darkness, and this black one is the moon in the light. So things are misconstrued here, and God says it's supposed to be this way. Light, the sun should be in the light, and the dark should be in the dark. The moon should be in the dark. I don't understand it deeply, but it's it's helping me to understand things. This appears to be what he's trying to say, that this is the way it's supposed to be. But like this is the way we're living right now, and there's certain things that can be done. It's almost like a pendulum swing. It's called secret knowledge, to balance the good and the evil in order to gain things. And I don't understand that fully yet. And there's probably, maybe you should consider not all those people that seem crazy, conspiracy theorists. They're probably not all. And there's a lot of knowledge floating around out there, and I think the way to decipher who might be coming from Jesus is what I said in the last video. Love, unity, forgiveness, these things are really important. I'm going to explain this next part. Oh my goodness, where's... Okay, I gotta explain a little more on this one. Okay, so the balance of the world. This is representative of the Antichrist. This is the Antichrist body. It's a lot of people that don't accept God, and this is the one Antichrist. So that's what it appears. And there may be people over here, you know, because I probably was in this group before too and didn't even realize that there's good people that just, they won't accept Jesus as their savior. Like that was me before too. The problem is God is trying to teach that, like, we have a heart of stone, and I kind of imagine it in my head as we only have half a heart, and the only way to repair it is through Jesus. So that's why like, you can't stop hating your brother until you get Jesus's help. That's how I'm seeing things, and that's why God's disappointed. Someone else can explain this much better. I'm sure the right person's going to see my video. So this one is all religions as one, and this one is the one for all. Jesus came for all, for everyone to look to him. But this is, all religions are, but if you read the Bible, there's a lot of things in there that he warns is not good, and there's a reason they're not good. Not good for the spirit, not good for the soul. But people don't understand these things until the people who have this knowledge come together. And something else that hurt my heart understanding this, when it's like, oh, the one for all, Jesus came, one for all, and they're like making all religions together. I was like, ooh, that sounds like the Three Musketeers. One for all and all for one. And then I was like, is there people that knew or something? And I don't understand, but I think there's people that, like I said, there's I think there might be something going on more than meets the eye in our world. And I just noticed that the story of the Three Musketeers, the saying was upside down. And a lot of things I'm coming across, it's what God tried to teach, it's upside down. So this one, these people are without the law, because Jesus, right? Really, it means you're in the law, but the old law, the Moses law, it was already abolished. So really you're without law by staying in that. And when you're without the law, it means you remain under that law. And like I said, these are people, they say, I am God, because they don't want to listen. So they're rebellious and without law. And how do you know when someone has God's law? Love. Okay, so this is what Jesus is bringing. Like, don't just follow my Father's commandments. You're not supposed to hate your brother. And that's the way to follow my Father's commandments, because you wouldn't do any of that if you loved your brother. And the only way to do that is by finding Jesus. So this is also kind of a reflection by, you're with law. You're with the true law that you need, the love. Which also means these people are under the law. This means you're above the law. Jesus gave that to us. He wipes all your sins away, and he tells you what he asks you what he would like you to do in return. Because you're so grateful for what he did, you start to walk on the path that he's asking you to do. I think that wraps this part up. Okay, So, this Freemason group, they're all across the world, and the people at the bottom I think are good people, but I think there's people at the top that are not. And they may know all of this, and that's why they have the capstone up. And when they say, and you know, in the Americans, they had Freemasonry. Not all of our government was bad, but they had Freemasonry within. And I think when they say, "In God we trust," I think they're talking about themselves, because they know they're children of God, but I think they've been tricked into believing that they're gods. That's what I'm being led to. And there seems to be so much to show that. Now, this is like upsetting to know that there's possibly very bad people among us in the world. And maybe we didn't know because it was all done in secret. But God does say in the end, all the secrets, they would come forward and the truth would be revealed. And you need to know, even if it makes you upset, if you take matters into your own hands, you take matters out of God's hands. It's kind of the way things are set up here. You're not supposed to judge. And if you came across someone who was truly, truly an evil person, really, like not from God, not even a child of God, I don't know, you have to let go and let God. He says, "Vengeance is mine." That's why he doesn't want you to judge. And he's trying to teach us to love each other. And Jesus told us that we don't fight amongst each other. It's the spiritual darkness that we fight, things that are unseen. And see, this is kind of more like, I don't think people fully understand what he was trying to say unless certain cultures come together. Okay, the spiritual Egypt. So, same thing. Okay, and you notice that they put an eye. And not everything Jesus said is literal. Some of it is it's for you to understand in a different way. How do I explain this? So, God says, like, his word has been, he knew in advance his word was going to be misconstrued. And there's a part that Jesus says, if your eye does evil, to pluck it out. Better you enter heaven with one eye than none, or something like that. I think that may also have one of the layered meanings is this. How do I explain this? So I think this is the good eye, and this is the evil eye. And what did, if you want to know what the spiritual Egypt is all about, look to the physical Egypt. And like God tried to take people out of that. And do they sort of represent the same thing? Only with the spiritual Egypt, it seems like their idols they've put before us is, I think it's Hollywood. And I think you should, in my opinion, I would watch less TV and be very careful of some music. And if you think I'm talking crazy, well, you're probably not Native, or you didn't grow up in a Native community, because Native people do understand there's things within the spiritual world that we don't fully understand. And there is something going on. You can look around and see there's something going on. Really not the right person to be talking, because not very good. That's why I need these pictures. God says that, I think he's talking about these people, that these people, they snuck in unnoticed and turned his rules into lewdness. I should have wrote down where that was in the Bible. But these people, they say they're like stonemasons. I think that's a flip of what Jesus represented, which wasn't he a woodworker, I think? So God, he's trying to teach the balance within this universe of how to become a good person. And I think when he's talking about those people that snuck in unnoticed and turned his word into lewdness, I think it might be these type of people. And remember when I first started dreaming, it was about like the mirror world. So there's something there. There's deep connections that I think us average people don't understand what's going on. Okay, so I think this is idol worship. Worshiping movie stars, worshiping music stars, like worshiping, putting man as our gods. And you have to really study the Bible to understand and start seeing this. That's why God says we're blind. Our eyes are maybe open, but we're blind. Okay, how can I explain this better? I've had my daughter draw a lot of cartoons for me. So like I said, I only became a believer in Jesus in March. And then, I got kind of shooken up with dreams and trying to figure out what was going on. And, it was a process trying to figure this out. And, sorry, I'm not a good speaker. So, all of a sudden I felt like I had 2 feet in 2 different worlds. The world around me, like just trudging along, trying to work, and my goal is to buy a house. That was my dream. And but then this happened, and it was really unstable for me. Like, I really felt like I was wobbling between what I was learning in the Bible and trying to go on with regular life. But I just wanted to encourage you that when you go through that wobbling, like looking around you, but then learning about this spiritual stuff and stuff about the soul, it's going to be unsettling, but you'll get through. And it was tough at first, but as time has gone on, it's become easier, and I feel rewarded for it, because I had a lot of issues in my heart, and I don't really have those issues anymore. My heart doesn't really beat hard anymore like it did. I don't know if I have panic attacks anymore. So, kind of put myself out there to look like a crazy person, because why would God be sending dreams to someone who's a brand new believer in Jesus? That just didn't make sense to me. Like, I only just like March, and then I was like, oh, maybe because I really didn't like churches. Maybe that's why. And there's, I think, more why he might have given it to me. And I just want to end by saying, like, I am not the greatest person. I wasn't. I'm turning into a better person now that I found Jesus. Especially when I was younger, I was a bit of a judgmental snob. And it took me until my late 20s until I started becoming a nicer person and stopped judging people and comparing and things like that. I think I'm going to have to do another video to explain. Yeah, I'm so sorry. I think I'm going to stop this video here and then focus on the other topics in different videos. And if you're listening to me and trying to take this in. Thank you. I do appreciate you trying to learn this with me. Thank you.